But just after the American national anthem, you had the Pakistani national anthem played. And guess what happened? They were in a rapture. They were flying, rolling on the floor, singing out the Pakistan national anthem. These were Americans born in the United States of America, and after 50 years in this country, the loyalty lies to Pakistan, not the United States of America.
Well, I am with the one and only Tarek Fatah here in Washington, D.C. And Tarek, as you know, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, is just up the road here at the United States Institute of Peace. Tell me, not everybody is pleased with the arrival of the Pakistani Prime Minister, especially those who have an issue with what Pakistan has done with Balochistan. Can you tell us what that conflict is all about?
Well, isn't it ironic that the warmonger, the man called the Taliban Khan, is coming to lecture Americans on the issue of peace? He's the last person who knows anything about peace. He's a puppet prime minister. Well, in a way, the word in Pakistan is selected. He was selected by the Pakistan military to serve them out because he's a pretty boy. He's fair complexion. He's about to get on his fourth wife, so he does have an Orientalist aura around him where Western world looks at him and say, oh my God, he's Lancelot arriving. He'll pick up the next bride and run away. But to be serious, it is ironic that the very people, the very Americans that ran away from Pakistan for his brutality and for his military, whose commander-in-chief is also here in full regalia and full uniform, they were taken away and asked to leave as they were protesting outside this thing. Because most of them are Baloch, they can't go back to Pakistan, but their families can be identified by photographs taken by ISIS agents who were roaming around as diplomats outside the US Institute of Peace. Now, many of you might say, what the hell is Balochistan? Try to figure this out. It's a country the size of France with about 12 million population that has a 750-mile coastline at the mouth of the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz. It was an independent country until March 1948 when the Pakistan army invaded and has occupied it since then. Now, there have been 5 wars of independence. In 1948-49 there was a war. In 55 there was a war. In 1960s there was the famous General Shroff who conducted a war. In 72, when I was beyond my teens, I knew as a TV journalist in Pakistan what was happening, the massive killing that took place. And then the latest one is on since 2005 when General Musharraf assassinated an 85-year-old chief, a very senior respected leader of the Baloch community, that was Nawab Akbar Bukti. Now all these people are here in the United States, but the propaganda machine that the Pakistan embassy runs, by the way, they've blocked me as of today on Twitter, so I feel plenty relieved, you know. I feel giddiness in the air. However, they have been marked 40,000 Baloch and Sindhis and Pashtuns have disappeared. Many of them are killed and the dead bodies are dropped by helicopters into ravines that have to be found. This is going on at a time when 10 members of the US Congress wrote to President Trump saying that the issue of kidnapping and disappearances should be taken up with Imran Khan. Not only that, the forcible conversion of non-Muslim teenage girls as Muslim, mostly Hindu and Christian, who are converted, kidnapped, and then taken away forever. Something has to be done about that. But very few are standing up and speaking for that.
And Tarek, why is it that so little is said about the atrocities going on in Balochistan for decades now? As you said, since 1948, how come we don't hear about free Balochistan movements? How come we don't see newspaper stories and TV documentaries about this particular invasion and ongoing acts of genocide?
Well, plenty has been said lately in Canada, where Barrick Gold, the Canadian mining company, has been given a $6 billion award against the government of Pakistan because Barrick Gold and its Chilean enterprise, a coalition or partnership, discovered mountain ranges of gold and copper, cobalt, nickel, oil, gas, fisheries. It's the richest part of the world where the poorest people on earth live. And why? Because China is taking it over. China has bought the United Nations Human Rights Commission. China makes sure that nobody stands up and speaks for them because China is powerful, it's a dictatorship, and you will notice that China can imprison 1 million Muslims and no Muslim government will ever speak against China. Why? Because they're lining the pockets. In the West, we have written about Balochistan. The Toronto Sun, Globe and Mail, National Post have issued, but it's a country that few notice because everyone's obsessed with what the Pakistani generals can do. Because everyone wishes to be on the good side of the Pakistan military, because if my records are right, 50,000 American containers containing war material disappeared in the last 10 years. There are fertilizer factories that produce IEDs for the Taliban. Who pays for the salaries of the Taliban? 100,000 soldiers at $500 a month, you do the calculation. Where is this money coming from? Pakistan plays a bad part by being the mouthpiece of not just Saudi Arabia, sometimes it's Qatar, sometimes it's United States, and other times it's China. It's like a concubine. And so the Americans are always betting that someday, somehow, some decency will prevail. And I don't think so, because you saw how they were interacting with me. They have blood in their eyes. If they had a chance, they'd be slaughtering off Muslims who do not adhere to the Islamist cause.
Indeed, Tarek, did you find it somewhat disturbing that just 2 days ago here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., an arena with an estimated 30,000 expatriate Pakistanis jammed Americans, and indeed jammed the joint, and they treated Imran Khan like he was a rock star. They love what he was saying. What's your take on that?
Well, let me explain one thing. These were 30,000 Americans who have by law stated clearly during their oath that they are not a citizen of Pakistan. They came there, and I can show you tweets where they said, "My God, this is so much fun. It almost feels like we are in Pakistan." Why? Because the Prime Minister of Pakistan, addressing Americans, refused to speak in English. Another factor, outside the capital arena, there were Americans chanting Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Then when Imran Khan, the great reformer, the most handsome, the exotic player of cricket from Oxford University, said that in Pakistan we will create a 7th century state based on the state of Medina, run by Islamic Sharia law, and 30,000 Americans cheered warmly. This isn't the end of the story. When the national anthems were played, at the American national anthem, these 30,000 Americans did not know what the words were. They mumbled, they stood in silence, and put on an act of showing tremendous respect. Obviously, if you don't know the words, that's the only way you'll act. But just after the American national anthem, you had the Pakistani national anthem played. And guess what happened? They were in a rapture. They were flying, rolling on the floor, singing out the Pakistan national anthem. These were Americans born in the United States of America, and after 50 years in this country, the loyalty lies to Pakistan, not the United States of America. That is why Ilhan Umar is referred to by President Trump as, if you don't like it here, why don't you go back? I have that question. If you use your American passport to become rich physicians and doctors and chartered accountants or certified public accountants, why are you not there to sing the American national anthem?
Hey folks, at The Rebel we believe that this kind of journalism is very important, but it does not come cheap. Our flight to Washington and the cost of the truck rental cost more than $4,000. So if you can, please chip in a buck or three by visiting handsoffbalochistan.com. That's handsoffbalochistan.com. Make a donation, sign the petition, and we thank you sincerely.